Hey everyone, I'm Miranda and I'm part of the campus community team. This is the place where we commune and connect in Christ through Christ-like conversations. Come, let's get right into it.
Hello everyone! How are you guys feeling? Good? Excited? Yeah, we are excited. We are really excited. I think, before we start, you're probably wondering like who we are and everything. So I think before that, shall we get Thomas? Would you like to introduce yourself? Like tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, so hi, I'm Thomas. I'm 18 this year, and nice meeting all of you. No, actually, I'm turning 30. I'm turning 30 this year, and maybe a fun fact is I would say I proposed last year on the 31st of December. What if I tell you that after all the clapping and applause, I tell you that she said no? What's going to happen then? No, she said yes, thankfully. That's so
good. All right. So actually, right, I think it was a really brief one, but I think, just to add on, Thomas is actually very distinguished. I think, yeah, he has anyone from Help Uni. Hey, what are you doing? What's it? Law. Okay. So Thomas actually studied masters.
I did my degree in psychology and masters in counseling.
And not only that, he's the dean of counseling in BCM. Yeah, fun fact, everyone. So wow, really. And one more fun fact actually about Thomas that I realized is he's actually very good at speaking in Mandarin and English. Like very, very fluent in both. I think Jimmy and I, when we first met him, right, we were like, oh my gosh, your English is better than us.
No.
And he's equally as fluent in Mandarin.
Thank you. This is true. I'm humbled.
Okay, but yeah, okay, awesome. So, I think that, okay, a little bit about me. I'm Phoebe. I am turning 25. I turned 25 this year. I just finished my studies. I did thank you. I just did design. Design. I like to be a designer. Yeah, I just finished maths. Any maths students in the house? Any maths students? Hey, where you study? I'm you. Hey, I am you too. Twinning or twinning? Awesome. Okay, yeah. So all the maths students really kudos to you all. But I think just adding on to what Pastor Mur has shared, I think that tonight it's all about mental health, and I think it's a very broad term, but it's a safe space. So I don't think we're here to kind of answer questions in a sense, but I think we're here to kind of just generate thoughts for us to think. And I think that because with us being in our coming to our late 1920s, even leading up into our mid 25s, 26-year-olds, I think it's a very pivotal moment for us. We're discovering a lot of things, and I feel when we are able to address things like this, obviously it won't be so deep all the time, but I think that if we're able to really dive into it and tackle this, I feel we can all go very far.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think?
And I think it's amazing also, to have a space like this, to just talk about this and all, because I would say, from my maybe I'll share a little of my story, how I got into this line of work and all. I would say that although I work in the line of therapy, counseling, helping and all, but I do have my own issues too. So I just want you to know that I'm just because I'm a therapist, I got everything sorted out. No, that's not true. Okay, I would say that's a myth lah. Okay, for sure that's a myth lah. Okay, so maybe a brief background about myself is that I'm actually from a single-parent family. So I think that has a lot to do with what I'm doing today too. Because I'm from I would say my parents divorced when I was around 10. And another interesting fact about me is that I left home when I was 14 to stay with my godmom. And at the age of 15, I started living on my own in a rented room. So I became independent I would say I was forced to be independent in a way. I was forced to be independent. And because I was forced to be independent, so I was forced to mature earlier than my peers too. And so I think that led to me being the problem solver, the fixer, the mediator in people's life. And I think that has a lot to do with who I am today. You know, I think so. Somehow I just found my identity in becoming the helper. So I think that's like a double-edged sword too. You know, I enjoy helping people, but at the same time, I can be very harsh on myself when I'm not able to help people. So I think that is a work that I'm still processing too. That I'm still working on myself. That, you know, recognizing that boundaries, that I can only do so much, and I'm trying my best. Yeah. So I think that's a brief background. That's a brief background about, you know, how I got myself into this line of work too. And I believe many of you here, you know, probably you enjoy helping people too. I'm not sure what happens, you know, like in your earlier stage of life or in your family of origins. But somehow I realized that, you know, as I'm lecturing students in this line of work, like social work or counseling.
You're like 30 and you're lecturing already.
God opens door. Really, God opens the door. So I think like maybe we can touch on the testimony later on, yeah. But I found that, you know, like a lot of people who are in this line of work, somehow we have our own stories too. We have our own scars. We have our own traumas. So I think, you know, the thing is that I think because of our story, because of the hurt, because of the scars, that made us more empathetic. We want to help people. But I think it is also important to remind ourselves that we can only do so much. And there is always that boundary that we want to learn to recognize. Else we will find ourselves in that slippery slope, I would say.
See, I love that. And I'm really encouraged by that. I think boundaries are very important.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, Thomas, right off the bat, right? Like, I actually have a question to ask. Like, what is the worst piece of advice that you think, like, or you have heard given in terms of like when you want to encourage someone who's down?
Okay.
Like the worst.
I hope I don't offend anyone here, yeah? Okay. I would say that, you know, like, okay, since we're in this Christian community, so I think sometimes, okay, don't hate me for this, okay? You know, sometimes when people share, I would say I have seen like a lot of cases where, you know, youths or people who would come and share to a leader that, you know, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that thing, you know, life has been very tough, you know, and the response they get is, you should pray more. You know, I'm not saying that prayer is not helpful. Prayer is important. Prayer is vital. It would be nice, you know, that it would be great if you can pray for that person. But I would say maybe at that point in time, maybe a listening ear is what they need. Some validation, and more empathy. I think that would be wonderful. And then, can I pray for you? I think that would be amazing.
Wow, I actually love that. And I think I am guilty of sometimes saying that as well.
Me too. Me too.
Wow, but actually, you know, like, I think coming to think of that, like, I think one thing that I personally also want to know is like, you know how sometimes like, even with social media, like all of us, we're on Instagram, we're on like TikTok. Oh, I love TikTok. It's a world, it's like a black hole. It's a black hole. So, like, you know, everyone's always putting out like their best versions of themselves, right? And I think like sometimes like we get that, but at the same time, I think it's very easy to get affected when we see someone like maybe our friends that post and maybe we are not invited to that. Or maybe, for example, we see, oh my gosh, this person has such a good family. This person seems like she has all her life, like all together. And this guy, he's like a straight A+. And like, he seems like he's just chilling. And I'm like over here just crying in my work and everything. So I actually do want to ask you, like, how do we deal with that? Like, what are your thoughts on all of that?
Okay. Before that, I just want to check in with y'all. Who here, you know, like, any of you here is not on TikTok? Not on TikTok. Wow, okay. At least I have friends here. Okay, I felt like I was the only, like, you know, the weird one, you know, like, I don't use TikTok. I don't use, like, Douyin.
Don't use TikTok.
Okay, so I'm grateful for you guys, okay? I don't feel that alone, okay? So, but to answer that question, I would say actually, you've pointed out a very important truth here. People often, I would say, 99% of the time people post about, pleasant moments, happy moments, and things that are great and amazing. But I think the moments when we are struggling, the moments when, say that, I don't think, when parents are arguing or quarreling, I would take out my phone and just post on Instagram like, oh, great. I don't think that's going to happen, So I think oftentimes we are, things are presented to us in a very nice, almost like perfect way. Like, everyone's story is like almost like a wonderful Disney story, but mine, I'm just that poor Cinderella or something like that. So I would say that I think we all have the answer, to not like, we shouldn't be comparing, we should be grateful for what we have and all that. I think we have all the answer. But one thing that I would perhaps like to add on to this is I would like to invite us to be more curious about the situation, to be more curious about what I am feeling. Say that, when I'm watching something, say, I myself struggle with this. Like, I woke up a few days ago, I was feeling great. Then I saw an update from a friend, like he was sharing a good news. And I was like, wow. And somehow, my day just like got ruined or something. I felt like, it's like, oh man, how could, it's like, he's doing this, he's achieving this, but what am I doing here? I felt that, So I would say that we all struggle with this, but what I want us to do is to be more curious about that moment, like, hey, what's actually making me feel this? I think that curiosity is going to help me to understand myself a lot more. When I watched that, when I saw that, and when I started to be curious about that situation, about my emotion, then I actually found that there's actually still some parts that's unresolved here that I feel inferior about here, and I want to attend to that part. But without the curiosity, I won't realize this part, and hence I will not have the opportunity to work on this part. So I would say curiosity is a great tool to carry with us.
Wow, that's really, really good, I think. I think that, wow, and actually I do want to ask in a sense, like, what are some practical tips that we can do? Like, for example, what are some questions that we can actually ask ourselves when we go through that?
I would say first thing first is to realize that we are going through that moment first. To first realize that we are going through that moment and just gently tell ourselves that, take a step back. Let's take a step back and be curious about this situation first. So I think a helpful question is start with, what am I feeling right now? So then I will try to list down, because oftentimes when I watch something, say that, I say that as I'm scrolling through Instagram, then I see something, then I don't feel good about it. Then I just try to just brush things off, or I just move on. I just try to distract myself. I don't really take time to find out what am I actually feeling here. Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling hurt? Am I feeling like, inferior? Am I feeling like, rejected? Am I feeling like disappointed? What am I feeling here? So I think the first question is, what's going on here? What am I feeling now? And then the next question would be, what's making me feel this way? What about this story? What about this phrase? Or what about this incident that's making me feel this way? When I hear this person say this, is it because, I feel rejected by him? I don't feel like I'm important to him. I don't feel like I'm his good friend when I'm treated him like my good friend. So what's going on here? So I want to find out what is the narrative here. So what am I feeling? And then I want to find out what is the narrative behind this emotion, because that's going to help me understand more about myself. What's happening inside here? Because oftentimes what we are feeling, it is not only stirred by what's happening in the present moment. The present moment might only be a trigger, and this trigger might be triggering something that is left unresolved from our past. So I think we want to be curious about that. Yeah.
It's really good. Triggers. How do you talk about it? Yeah. Then how do we then regulate? Like, what are your thoughts on in terms of regulating negative emotions? Like, do you think it's okay to have bad emotions? Do you think that is feeling lost normal?
Let's try to break this down a little. Where, you know. Okay, so when it comes to emotion, because emotion is a huge topic, and I'm a fan of emotion. I love working with emotions, and I would say first thing first is that we want to reframe our understanding about emotions. So oftentimes, we have this label for emotions. Like some emotions are good emotions, some emotions are bad emotions. But we want to change that. We want to reframe that into all emotions are good emotions.
Oh, that's so like different.
Yes, even sadness, even hatred, anger, fear, those are all good emotions. Yes, you can have pleasant emotions, unpleasant emotions, positive emotions, negative emotions, but I still want to recognize all emotions as good emotions. Because how I see emotions is I truly see emotions as, gifts, wonderful, amazing gifts from God. It is almost like a gauge. It's almost like a thermometer. It's telling me like, okay, Thomas, you are feeling this. Thomas, you are going through this. Thomas, something is bothering you here. Thomas, you really like this. It's almost like it's giving me a signs of what's going on. So I would say that all emotions are good emotions. So I think that's the first thing that I want to change about, if I have been thinking that there are good emotions, bad emotions. Because if I label emotions as good and bad, I think it's natural that we only want to feel what is good. We don't want to feel what is bad. So when I feel the bad emotions, I'm going to want to run away from them. I'm going to want to brush them away, brush them off. I'm going to want to distract myself away from these bad emotions. And then we are losing so many opportunities to work on ourselves. So I think that's the first point that I would like to highlight.
Like, I love that because I think that sometimes, even in the Bible, I'm really comforted, like even David in the Bible, he also did say, like, they went through so many ups and downs.
Yes.
Like, God was still very much present in their life. But
Yes.
for example, like David, like he even was the first one to say, my God, why did you forsake me? And like Jesus referenced that as well. And I think that even like Elijah, like he was on the top of the mountain after with King Ahab, with miracles. And after that, he was running and hiding. And even, like all of them, they actually went through, they experienced a lot, even like King Solomon as well, and Samson, like all of them actually went through a lot of grief. And even Hannah, when she cried to God for like a son, a child. So I think that like sometimes we feel, I think maybe even as like from what I catch from what you shared, is that emotions are not always bad. Like it's very natural for us to want to push all the emotions down because they are uncomfortable.
I think that's a human thing to do. We want to run away from unpleasantness. That's a very human thing.
We are hungry, we want to eat something. And also because Instagram, like with our world, right, like everything is so fast. Like fast. Like fast food, Grab, if you want it, you can get it. Shopee, you can get it the next day. And I think that because of that, sometimes we're so tuned. Like let's say even with dating, like we want that, we don't want that person right now. We want our sadness to go away just like right now, like that. But sometimes we forget that we are not robots. We're actually human with emotions, right?
That is actually very true. I would say that's a huge challenge that's going on in our modern era right now. I would say it's great that we have all these technologies. It's great that, we have all these resources and advancement. That's amazing. But at the same time, I would say if you notice, the pace of this world is only going faster. It's only going faster. So we cannot stand delayed gratification. We cannot stand boredom. So, interestingly, as we were having dinner, I remember I asked, me asking y'all this question. Like, maybe I'll ask this question as well to the crowd here. I wonder, how many of you, when you go to the toilet, when you go to the loo, How many of you don't bring your phone in? Can I see your hand?
Be honest. Wow, hey, I'm so impressed. You don't bring your phone at all? Like, at all? Even to, like, poop? No?
And I think it's about like 5% of them.
Wow.
And I just want to like, wow, great, like
That's so
I respect
impressive.
you, man. Oh. Because they don't poop. I think this guy is trying to justify his own behavior. That's a human thing to do too. But I think with this question, it shows us that it's very difficult for us to even stand that little distress called boredom. So I think because everything is so quick, like when I order, like last time, if I'm hungry, I need to make a meal. If I don't want to make a meal, I need to drive out, I need to go and tapao or something, but now everything is like, Grab, Food Panda, and then you can still choose like the saver mode, the saver mode or the direct version, if you see how fast you want the food to be get delivered to you.
But often the saver works too, right? The saver is still equally fast, right?
Depending on how hungry you are. But I think this is an issue that we are facing too, because everything is so quick. So, we are living in a world that's constantly pursuing for that instant gratification. That instant gratification, you want a quick answer. Like, say, I go to the gym, the question I'm going to ask is, how fast can I see that result? How fast can I see this? How fast can I see that? How fast can I do this? How fast can I get that? It's all about being quick, being fast and all. But sometimes when it comes to the process of growing, the process of healing, the process of exploring, discovering, sometimes being slow is the fast way to go. And that's what I often tell my client too. The more you try to rush that process, the more you're going to stumble, the more frustrated you're going to become, the more walls you are going to hit, and it's making that process even slower. But when you are able to just be patient, be kind, be gentle with yourself, you may think that you're going slower, but this slow is actually making that process more effective, more efficient.
Oh, wow. Being slow actually makes you faster.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. All right, Thomas, I'm actually going to put you on a hot seat because I'm going to use your dean in counseling. You also have a master's in theology, right?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
But I will try my best.
Right.
I'll try my best.
Sorry. But actually,
Just in praying.
okay, I want to ask, even for you being a Christian and navigating through counseling and counseling others, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that God is enough in dealing with mental health struggles? Put you on the hot seat.
Very hot.
You mentioned, because how sometimes you say one of the praying things away
Yes.
may not necessarily
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I would say that God is definitely enough, but I would want to see how I'm defining this God is enough, Because some people might say that God is enough, so you just pray, read your Bible, that's all. Or I can see it beyond that, because all the wisdom, knowledge of this world is from God. So when I'm sick, when I have cancer, I'm not just going to say that, I want to pray, I want to read the Bible that, this cancer will go away. I'm also trusting in the wisdom that the doctors have, and praying that, God, if it is your will, I pray that I will get healed. So I think likewise with mental health, yes, God is definitely enough. And so, I'm going to pray, I'm going to seek for, spiritual covering, support system, I'm going to take care of my health and all. And I believe that even professional help, these two can be a blessing and a gift from God. So I would like to expand that definition, I would say. Because I think one of the myths that some Christians may fall into is that, if I am depressed, if I am sick, if I'm unwell, that means something's wrong. Something's wrong with me. Something that I did wrong. I've sinned against God. God is not pleased with me and whatnot. And I don't think that's entirely true. I don't think that's entirely true, because like the examples you've raised earlier, a lot of great examples in the Bible, men of faith, women of faith, they've gone through different struggles in their life too. But I think what really matters is how they went through that process by relying on God, by depending on God. And at the same time, look at David, he's like the man after God's heart. But even him back then, he had Jonathan, a very good friend. So I think it's not just that, I need God and God alone. I think, yes, I need God, and I believe that God can place right people, helpful people around me too. And I want to tap into those as much as I can.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Actually, adding on to that, I think when you said that, the verse that came to mind was like, a friend loves at all times and a brother is born for adversity. And I think that is just so powerful, because sometimes we take into we take our friends for granted, I think. But I think even for me personally, I'm very blessed. I think that the community that I have, the people that they've really been there for me through my dark times, especially to rehash again and again and again, sometimes the same situation. And I think that's just something so powerful about godly community.
Yes.
Being inspired by people. We are not meant to carry our crosses alone. We all have our individual crosses, but I think there's just something so beautiful about carrying it with our friends and them being in your corner and encouraging you, hey, you got this. Yeah, man, we try.
That's powerful. I would say that's really powerful, because oftentimes, I have people, friends who would come to me or clients would tell me that, actually, I'm not used to sharing my issues or my burdens with people. I don't want to burden them, even if I share with them, nothing's going to get solved. But, us sharing with people, we are not really expecting you to solve my problem. I'm not really expecting you to solve my problem, but you being there, that itself is a great help already. So I think that is something that perhaps, if you are someone who thinks that, I don't see there's a need to share with people because I don't want to burden people. There's no point sharing because it's not going to solve my problems anyway. I just want you to know that sometimes by having that godly community, that listening ear, that empathetic presence of someone, that itself is a great, great support and help. So, because some things can't be solved immediately. Say that, I'm talking about family issues. If I'm talking about family issues, how am I going, I think it's not fair to expect you to solve my family issues, Yeah, so I think just to add on to that.
And sometimes it's not even just talking, right? You can even just call your friends out, go badminton and things like that. Hey, things to just have fun, go mama, go karaoke. Yes. And I think that friendship is so precious, especially in navigating through hard times. Because I think sometimes there's a lot of self-doubt. And I think that sometimes what we feel may not necessarily be what is the reality.
Correct.
And sometimes we need friends and family to actually ground us. I think shout out to my brother. I think really throughout a lot of hard times, I think he's really been there. So cringe, but I think it's very important to have but I think it's really important to have people that my brother's single, he's from UM. Oh, it's life, right? Medical student with scholarship. So if you want, read the Bible every day. He and Roshan come in a package, so I'm joking. But I think, adding on to that, I actually do want to ask you, how do we navigate? What is it? How sometimes when we are sad, right, we say, okay, just surrender it to God. How does that actually look like practically? Because, sometimes when we go through, maybe we see our friends hanging out on Instagram and we're like, oh my gosh, I feel sad. Or maybe we are going through stress with exams. Or maybe we're going through we're struggling to find a job. Or maybe we even have family issues and our parents are arguing. Or maybe my relationship with my sibling is not very good. And when we tell our friends, God always says surrender it to Him, But how does that actually look like practically?
Okay. A helpful question that I would say that, that I would usually suggest to my client is that, in this situation, perhaps you want to recognize that boundary of what is within your control and what is not. What is within your control and what is not. Because oftentimes we feel very much affected by things that are not within our control. But the thing is, there's nothing we can do about it. So by recognizing what is within my control and not within my control, I think I've ruled out or filtered out a lot of these other issues or factors. Then I'll look at the things that are within my control and ask myself, so within my, with the capacity that I have now, with the resources that I have now, what can I do? What do I want to do? And I think that would be helpful. Sometimes it's okay, you know what? I'm feeling I'm not ready to process this emotion, so I'm just going to take a nap. That works too. Or I'm going to go get an ice cream. That works too. I think we don't want to set too high, that expectation or bar too high for ourselves too, because that's going to, I am already struggling and I'm making things even harder for myself. I think that's not fair too, So I think one is just to recognize what, the capacity that I have now and what can I do. And it can be as simple as just taking a nap, or it can be, I just want to process this by journaling. I want to process this by speaking to a friend, speaking to to my mentor. So I think recognizing that. Yeah.
So surrendering isn't just about suppressing and pushing things down. It's about actively, okay, God, this is my problem. I'm going to give it to you. And then after that, do the practical things that what you need to do. If you want an ice cream, go, things like that. Go on my other brother. I didn't see, he's not my periphery, but he's amazing too. I always love him, man. He's amazing. He's a dental student, also single, drumming just now. So you can take him also. He's amazing. I love my brothers. Yeah, they're amazing. So I think I actually really, really do like that. Sometimes we think surrendering is just pushing down. But I realize that sometimes when we push things down, we actually tend to everything else tends to come up, right?
Correct. So the thing about emotions is I like to describe emotion as a little child. Just imagine a little child that's coming up to you, and the little child is coming up to you is telling you Phoebe, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling unhappy, I want this, I want that, and you trying to suppress that child is shut up, or you lock that child up in a room, it's has that happened before? Okay, so it's
wow.
It's you trying to do that. Yeah, that child may, may be silent for a while, but that child is going to retaliate more intensely or stronger after that, So, but what might help that child is, okay, I see that you're upset. So, what do you want me to know? What are you trying to tell me here? So, by creating that by having that curiosity and trying to create that understanding, somehow that child just calms down, and that works with emotions too. So, I'm not sure if you guys noticed that, but the stronger you try to fight your emotions, I would say that emotion is going to resist you even stronger. It's going to fight back even stronger, or it's going to come back or bounce back even stronger. So sometimes by sitting with our emotions, by allowing us to sit with that discomfort and unpleasantness, somehow makes that discomfort or unpleasantness goes down faster.
Wow. How about emotions like anger then? How do we deal with, let's say I'm a person that's very easily gets angry. And I think I read somewhere as well that for women, girls we tend to be sad more. But then for guys, it's the natural emotion would be to be angry. So what are your thoughts on that? Sitting with that discomfort or navigating through anger? Or why do we, is anger bad? Is it wrong?
Anger is good.
Anger is good.
Anger is good. But okay, I think oftentimes why do we think that anger is bad is because we are not differentiating anger and the reaction. So when I get angry, I started punching wall. When I get angry, I started, to throw things. So if I put them together, anger is bad. Because anger equals to throwing things, punching walls, shouting at people. But no, anger is anger. Those are the reactions that stem from the anger. But what is anger trying to tell me here? Anger is trying to tell me that, Thomas, that's so unfair. You know, Thomas, just listen to what she said. It's like she's humiliating you. You know, the anger is trying to protect me. But the thing is, without the awareness, the anger is going to drive me to react. And that is why awareness is so important, because that is going to help me to manage the anger rather than the anger managing me, so that I can respond and not react. So I can be angry. I can tell you that, you know, Phoebe, what you said just now really hurt me. It really made me feel angry. That is still anger. But it brings a different outcome. Rather than me like, you, me starting to, like, you know, throw chairs or... That's anger too.
If I break a leg, I'll come find Dr. Jimmy. He will like fix it.
No, I don't dare to do that because you have a lot of brothers. So I would say that, what was your question again?
No, I think you answered it really well. Like, how do we deal with anger?
So I would say, you know, with emotions, usually I like to break it down into like 3 parts. The first part is emotional awareness. The second part is emotional understanding. And the third part is emotional regulation. Wow. So emotional awareness is like, you know, okay, it's almost like I have my phone in my pants, okay? And then I'm trying to go like, but I really want to swim. I want to jump into the pool. But I know if I jump into the pool with my phone in my pants, things are going to get ugly, okay? But in order for me to take my phone out of my pants, I need to first realize that, oh, I have my phone in my pants. So that is awareness. That's like, oh, I have my phone in my pants, and me trying to jump into the pool, it's not helpful to have that phone in my pants. So that's me understanding the situation, and me managing the situation is me taking out that phone and putting it elsewhere. So those are, like I say, like emotional intelligence. There are 3 parts to being aware, and then asking myself, and trying to be curious and trying to explore, trying to understand what is the narrative behind this emotion, and then me trying to manage or regulate. And regulation can be as simple as breathing. So, you know, since we are on the topic of breathing, can we try something with the crowd?
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, but if you are someone who, you know, who has like experienced panic attack before, or if you have asthma, then I would encourage you to not take part in this, okay? But what I want you to do is, first thing first, the invitation here is in the exercise, I would say like the experiential later, I want you to be aware, more aware. I want you to notice what you are experiencing, you know, your body, your physical sensation, including how's your chest feeling. Is it tight? Is it, you know, relaxed? How is your heartbeat? Are you feeling like pleasant, comfortable, or the other way around? Okay? So just notice what you're feeling right now first, what you're experiencing right now, okay? And when I count to 3, I want you to just stop breathing, to hold your breath. To hold your breath, okay? Not to stop breathing, to hold your breath, okay? 1, 2, 3. Hold your breath. And when you hold your breath, I want you to notice what are you experiencing in your body right now. If you can't hold it anymore, please start breathing. Okay? Okay. Let's stop here, okay? And notice what you're feeling. Okay? What you're feeling. And now I want you to try one more part with me, where I want you to breathe like me. Like, and notice what your body is feeling.
Yeah, I run up the stairs to 4th floor.
Okay? And now, I want you to take a deep breath in. Breathe out as slow as you can. And notice what the body is feeling. Another breath in, deep breath in. As slow as you can. Hold.
Someone farted.
Bro. Okay, I don't think so.
Someone
Okay.
ate onions for dinner.
Let's try to help that guy or that lady, you know. No one farted, you know. Probably the chair squeaking or something, you know. but I'm just curious, like with all of you here, those who like tried taking part in that exercise, how many of you notice a shift or a change in your physical sensation? Okay, quite a number of you, huh? Okay. So I would say that actually when we talk about breathing, because when I look at breathing, like I've read some some paper, research paper, and I've heard some listened to some podcasts too. So there's one, I would say, one scientist, he's done like research on breathing for over a decade or so. So he found that actually breathing really affects us holistically. It affects our emotions. It affects our health. It affects our I would say our cognition, our cognitive parts, factors too. So something as simple as breathing when I'm angry, I notice that I'm getting angry. Taking a few deep breaths sometimes help. So just like, and always know that when you are angry and you feel like this anger is not helping you to manage that situation, you can always walk away for the time being. So it's like, Phoebe, I'm feeling really angry right now, and I know that this is not going to help our conversation, so can I ask for a short break? But when I ask for a short break, I don't want to use that short break as an excuse to run away. So I want to commit another engagement with this person. Can I get a short break? And I'll come back to you when and when. So this person will feel like, okay, I'm more willing to give you that short break because I know there will be a re-engagement.
I think it takes a lot of maturity and intentionality to do that too.
Yes.
Because I think even for me, I would just want to like, no, don't talk to me, or react in a way. So I think it definitely takes a lot of emotional maturity.
A lot of practice, like you I think like a lot of practicing too. So I would say like just try practice even if you feel I think that's okay.
Yeah. From what I catch, it is important to be in charge. Like you are in charge of the emotions. The emotions is not in charge of you, in that sense.
Yes.
Wow. And I actually have like one last question for you. Honestly, I feel like I could talk. I have so many more questions I actually do want to ask you. Like I think I would want to have my free therapy session right here. But like my last question to you before we open the floor. So I think we can just quickly flash out. Like if any of you have any questions, it's totally anonymous. You can just scan the QR code. And you can feel free to ask Thomas any of your burning questions. If it's like, how do I deal with heartbreak? How do I deal with friendships? How do I deal with like family and things like that? But while everyone is like scanning and asking, I think Thomas, like, a question I have for you, right, is I think a lot of our emotions and like issues like they stem from relationships,
yes,
say family and friends, and sometimes it can be particularly tough because we may not be able to change the situation necessarily, or like even the behaviors, or maybe say we have a conflict and we don't really know how to like navigate through that, or even hurt, like dealing with hurt. So my question is like, I think that like we can either choose to like push it down and suppress, or we feel very helpless, and it seems like, or we can even like over dramatize the situation. So like, how can I like effectively communicate my emotions or like deal with my emotions and needs rather than just brushing it under the rug and pretending that everything is okay?
Wow. I think that takes a lot of that's going to take like a lot of it's going to take a mature person in order to do that too, because in order to communicate effectively, I would say I will need to first be able to to have done the earlier part of being aware of what I'm feeling, understanding what I'm feeling, regulating, and feeling like I'm in a good space to communicate. I think only then I'll be able to communicate But I think one thing that I would like to add on with what Phoebe asked earlier is that actually one thing in my work with my clients, I noticed one thing is that relationships are often the major contributing issues to many of the struggles that we are facing. And these relationships can be family of origins, can be our friendships, or can be just like the different social circles that we are in. And yeah, and you know, being a Christian, I would say that we know our God is a God of Trinitarian. Father, Spirit, and Father, Spirit, and Son. They are three always together. They are like, you know, loving one another, promoting one another, serving one another. So when we are created in the image and likeness of God, we too are social beings. We need to socialize. But I would say one of the challenges nowadays is that we have so many distractions that we have forgotten how to socialize effectively. Wow. We have forgotten how to build meaningful relationships, friendships, or maybe, you know, because of like the things that we are trying to pursue, or, you know, the things that I'm trying to provide for my family, I'm going to work so hard, but I'm missing out on the chances of building that meaningful relationship with my children. So somehow we are seeing noticing a lot of like issues at home, family of origins and all that, you know. So I would say it is saddening to see that. It is saddening to see that, but it also shows me, or shows us, you know, how real and how true the Word of God is, that, you know, we are created in His image and likeness. And it is important for us to also be aware and mindful of that, and to start building meaningful relationship, I would say.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to Campus Community, where we commune and connect in Christ through Christ-like conversations. If you would like to keep in touch with us, feel free to follow us on our socials at campuscommunity.sibkl. Do keep in touch and see you in our next conversation.